Chapter 17. Luke Skywalker. According to municipal records obtained from the settlement of Anchorhead on Tatooine, that was the name on the registration for a T-16 Skyhopper owned by a human male pilot who had lived at the Lars homestead and was approximately 19 standard years old. Luke Skywalker. According to a Kubaz freelance spy in Mos Eisley, that was the name on a spaceport speeder sales record for the land speeder that had been purchased from a young man who later left on the Millennium Falcon, the Corellian freighter that had also carried Obi-Wan Kenobi to the Death Star. Luke Skywalker. According to a captured rebel whom Darth Vader interrogated on the planet Centaurus, that was the name of the X-Wing pilot who had destroyed the Death Star. Luke Skywalker. Even while inspecting his nearly completed flagship, the Superstar Destroyer Executor, at the starship yards of Fondor, Vader could not get Luke Skywalker out of his mind. He silently chewed on the name and considered the fact that the boy had been born 3 years after the death of Shmi Skywalker. To the best of his knowledge, Anakin Skywalker had been his mother's only living blood relative. Could there have been other Skywalkers from Tatooine? Vader allowed the possibility. After all, it wasn't an entirely uncommon name in the galaxy. But Anakin and Padme Amidala had been expecting a baby 19 years ago. 19 standard years. It's not possible, Vader thought. I killed Padme. The baby died with her. Not for the first time. He wondered if the Emperor had told him the whole truth about Padme's death. But I remember choking her, seeing her collapse on Mustafar. I was so angry with her, and yet Luke Skywalker exists. Vader refused to believe that the notorious rebel surname was merely a bizarre coincidence. If he had possessed any other name, Vader would not have hesitated to report what he had learned to the Emperor. But for purely selfish reasons, Vader kept the rebel's name to himself. To him, Luke Skywalker was more than a mystery to be solved. He is an opportunity. As strong with the Force as he may be, he is an opportunity for even greater power. But who is he? Who were his parents? Could he have been Obi-Wan's son? But then why was he named Skywalker and raised by the Lars family? Or was he merely trained by Obi-Wan? Because Obi-Wan Kenobi, Shmi Skywalker, Owen and Beru Lars, and Padme Amidala were dead, there was only one way Vader could discover the truth. He would have to ask Luke Skywalker himself. All he had to do was find him. After enlisting an actor to impersonate Obi-Wan Kenobi, Vader tailored a new trap specifically for Luke on the desert world of Arrakis. Unfortunately, Luke saw through the ruse and escaped. Vader was even more frustrated by the actions of his top officer, the ultimately incompetent Admiral Griff, who allowed the Rebel Alliance to evade the Imperial blockade at Yavin 4 and evacuate to a new secret base. Vader was not idle as he searched and waited for any information that would lead him to Luke Skywalker and his allies. He brought Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber back to Bast Castle, where he also studied an ancient Sith holocron he had acquired. He oversaw various secret projects, including the development of mind-altering Pasiphagon Cadril, the construction of robotic Imperial Dark Troopers, and preparation for a new superweapon in the Endor system. He assigned a Force-sensitive Imperial intelligence agent named Shira Bree to infiltrate the Rebel Alliance, but her mission to discredit Luke Skywalker was a failure and left her horribly injured. Because Vader still considered Bree valuable, he ordered Imperial medics to replace her shattered limbs with cyborg prosthetics and offered her to Palpatine to serve as an elite secret operative. Luke Skywalker was not idle either. As word of his actions spread, many Imperials became familiar with the name of the young pilot who was the leading figure in the Rebel Alliance. 2 years after the destruction of the Death Star, an Imperial governor notified Vader that the persons matching the descriptions of Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia Organa had been captured on Circarpus 5, a swamp planet known locally as Mimban. Vader was aware of the Mimban legend about the Kyber crystal, a luminous crimson-colored gem that magnified the Force a thousandfold, and hoped to collect this relic along with the captive rebels. By the time Vader arrived on Mimban, Skywalker and the princess had escaped and fled into the jungle. After a close encounter in a cavern, he finally caught up with them at the vine-encrusted temple of Pomajima, pyramidal ziggurat constructed of great blocks of volcanic stone for an ancient Mimban deity, which contained the Kyber crystal. Using the Force, Vader dropped a stone ceiling on Luke Skywalker, pinning him to the temple floor while Leia Organa watched helplessly. "You have a great deal to atone for to me," Vader told Skywalker, who, like the princess, was attired in a dark work uniform worn by local miners. Activating his lightsaber, Vader began swinging its red blade back and forth, chopping playfully at bits of stone from the surrounding walls. "I probably won't have the patience to let you last as long as you deserve," he continued. "You may consider yourself lucky." Turning his attention to the princess, Vader said, "I expect no such difficulty in restraining myself where you are concerned, Leia Organa. In several ways, you are responsible for my setbacks much more than this simple boy." Simple boy? Vader was surprised by the words that had come from his own mouth. Even though he knew there was more to Skywalker than met the eye, and had only intended on apprehending the rebels, he was suddenly overcome by the desire to kill them. He realized he was losing his self-control. The princess picked up Luke's lightsaber and activated its blue blade. As she moved toward Vader, he abruptly let his arm fall, letting the beam of his own weapon hang limply at his side. "Leia, don't!" Luke yelled. "It's a feint. He's daring you. Kill me, then yourself. It's hopeless now." Gazing at the princess with contempt, Vader said to her, "Go on, let him fight for you if you want, but I won't let you kill him." Thinking of how Luke had escaped his clutches before, he added, "I've been robbed too often." The princess fought bravely, but she was no match for Vader. She used the last of her strength to throw the lightsaber to Skywalker just as he emerged from under the rubble. Facing the Sith Lord, Skywalker said, "Ben Kenobi is with me, Vader, and the Force is with me too." The duel was furious and carried Vader and Skywalker through the temple to a chamber where there was a dark circular opening in the floor, the mouth of a deep pit. As the battle wore on, Vader found himself breathing hard through his respirator. But then, thanks to his proximity to the Force-enhancing Kyber crystal, he felt a sudden surge of the power of the dark side, allowing him to project lightning from his fingertips for the first time in his life. He hurled Force-energizing lightning at Skywalker, but his young opponent deflected the blast. "Not possible," Vader muttered, feeling his energy drain. "Such power in a child. Not possible." As Skywalker threw himself at the towering black figure, Vader raised his lightsaber to defend himself, but he wasn't fast enough. Skywalker's blade cut through the Sith Lord's prosthetic right arm, and it fell to the floor, still clutching the red-bladed lightsaber. Dazed, Vader bent and used his left hand to pry his weapon from the gloved fingers of his severed arm. He was shifting his weight to make another attack when he suddenly had a clear view of the lightsaber in Skywalker's grip. The weapon's design and hand grip looked familiar. Vader's head suddenly felt heavy, and as he tried to move forward, he stumbled over his severed limb. The robotic arm tumbled after him as he plummeted into the nearby pit. He howled as he descended into the darkness, and it seemed like his fall would never end. Throughout the fall, he thought of Skywalker's lightsaber. Vader would have sworn it was the same weapon that Obi-Wan had taken from Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar. He didn't stop howling with rage until he crashed in a heap upon a pile of hard stones. It was over an hour before Vader regained consciousness at the bottom of the pit below the temple of Pomojima. He tasted blood inside his helmet and silently cursed himself. He realized what had happened in the temple. The Kyber crystal had increased his force powers, but not to his advantage. It had amplified his hatred and anger, causing him to abandon his desire to capture Skywalker and find out more about his identity. Now he sensed that the Kyber crystal was no longer in the temple that had left Mimban, along with Skywalker and the princess. Vader gathered up his arm and lightsaber and made his way out of the cavern, where he summoned an Imperial shuttle to deliver him to the nearest medical center. Even as his right arm was replaced, he did not consider his battle at Mimban a loss. For now, he knew that Skywalker was more than an opportunity for greater power. He was the solution to his greatest obstacle. He's the only person who can help me overthrow the Emperor. Vader had never discussed Luke Skywalker with the Emperor, but he did not rule out the possibility that his master had learned the name of the rebel pilot who had destroyed the Death Star. It was only a matter of time before the Emperor broached the subject. Even though Vader had yet to discover any significant information about Skywalker's heritage, he did sense there was a strong connection between them, and not only because they had both been trained by Obi-Wan. But Vader didn't want simply more information. He wanted Skywalker, wanted him immediately, and wanted him alive. It was therefore inevitable that the Dark Lord would meet with Boba Fett.